So, uh, basically, Nintendo struck again regarding emulation. This time they went after a site called Vim's Lair. They pretty much have ROMs and whatnot. It's complete, from what I understand, not only Nintendo but also Sega, I believe. And essentially, the site is now completely gone. I believe, or it's still around, but it's shut down. Like there's nothing on the site anymore, I believe. But let's look into this modern. Let's see what else does this entails.
2018. The best-selling console in June of that year wasn't the Nintendo Switch or the Sony PlayStation 4. It was the NES Classic, a miniature version of the NES that cost $60 and came with 30 classic NES titles. And it sold.
I got my sister this a few years ago when it came out. It was hard to find, but I got it.
Sold well. So well that Nintendo underestimated the demand.
And basically had a lot of other people. Sega made one. Sony tried to make one with the PlayStation, although it was a piece of crap from what I understand. Because it literally was just an emulator inside. Like, what was it? The PCX emulator? I think it was. I know it was like a big prominent. It was an emulator that was essentially in there that they did. And what was the other one? TurboGrafx. I have that one. I got that one for cheap. I only have that one and the Sega Mini. They're still in box because I have the systems myself. Well, I don't have the TurboGrafx, but I don't know. I don't really want to open it. It looks really nice. Anyway,
the NES Classic was frequently sold out, and resellers took advantage of the FOMO from those who weren't able to get one. The NES Classic underneath the covers is nothing more than a low-powered ARM device that runs an in-house Nintendo-developed emulator and ROMs. Nintendo would follow this up with the Super NES Classic, which was just as successful, and just like any other mini console
I don't have this one.
At the time, it would be quickly hacked to run just about any emulator and ROM that you wanted.
I remember that.
In July 18 of the same year as the NES Classic, Nintendo would file a lawsuit against the operator of a popular console ROM site known as loveroms.com. According to Nintendo, the sites are among the most notorious online hubs for pirated games, and just 3 days later, LoveRoms was shut down.
Boo.
Emu Paradise, out of fear of being targeted by Nintendo, also ceased providing ROMs on their website.
Man, Emu Paradise was such a good spot to get emulators, to get ROMs too. And is it even up anymore? Let me see. Emu Paradise. Because, like, I know it was up at one point for a good while. But it's like, what's even the point? Because you can't. That's still up. I don't know if any ROMs work. Because I know a lot of them got taken down. So I was like, what? How is this even still operating? What the hell's that? Oh, yeah. Sorry. I forgot to close that out. Anyway. I don't know. I'm not going to try to download them and shit. But, I probably could get in trouble for that, for just showing that site, but I don't think any of their links now regarding the games have any ROMs anymore, unless they did a different way. There's some websites out now that have a bit of a roundabout way to kind of link you to ROMs now. I'm not going to show you, and I'm not going to tell you where they are, but if you look hard enough, you'll find them.
In July of 2019, Nintendo went scorched earth on another popular ROM sharing site known as ROM Universe, stating the company alleges ROM Universe is built largely on brazen and mass-scale infringement. It was shut down shortly after. And fast forward to today, Vim's Lair is the latest in a string of high-profile ROM sites that have been a target of Nintendo and their quest to eradicate illegal ROMs and piracy. In the case of Vim's Lair, Nintendo, along with Sega, Lego, and a group of companies who formed the ESA, was responsible. Now, I do want to be very clear that Nintendo does have every right to protect what's theirs.
Unfortunately, that's kind of the bitter truth there, is they have every right to it, but let them cook, sorry.
ROM sites do indeed host illegal ROMs, but it's in my opinion that Nintendo is causing irreparable damage to a community that's almost single-handedly kept game preservation efforts alive for decades. And
because emulation itself is not illegal. The just distribution of ROMs. So, like, say if I were to get the hardware and software to essentially say get my copy of Super Mario 3 and copy that ROM onto my computer, that's perfectly fine, I believe, because that's mine. I could be wrong. If someone wants to freaking correct me, please go ahead. But if I were to give that file to a friend, that's where the issue kind of goes. That's essentially, sadly, what a lot of these ROM sites, that's essentially what the ROM site does. It's giving it to a copy that was not meant, that you did not buy legally. Yes, it is kind of illegal. It's like, that's a lot of people are like, oh, they're not legal. It's not, you can talk about the moral justification, but technically you're not supposed to be doing that. And that's where the things get really muddy. I defend Nintendo quite a bit, but when it comes to emulation, I think it's such a massive waste of money and time that they could be doing anything else. To me, it's like their stance should be just like, well, we can't stop you. And they really can't, because I guarantee, because there's so many other fucking sites out there. There's so many sites that don't even technically host, mainly aren't just focused on ROMs, that still have like a whole big library of fucking NES, GameCube, every fucking console under the sun now. You just gotta know where to look. Honestly, Google, you just press that, type something in like to Google, and you'll find it. It's not that hard. Which is, like I said, it's a massive waste of money. It's a money sink. There's nothing to be gained here. It's just kind of intrusive, and it's kind of a shitty look. I'm not gonna say it's like, oh, it's free advertisement, blah blah. No, because guys, Nintendo doesn't need your help advertising anybody. It's Nintendo. Mario's more known than fucking Mickey Mouse and Jesus. No, this is about, games that are just not easily to get, are not easily obtainable. Games that, we can't get anymore. Again, like a lot of fucking games that are just download only that we cannot get. Castlevania Adventure Rebirth, cannot get that. Unless you most likely pirate your fucking Switch or you're not your Switch, your Wii U or Wii, because the game is digital and it has not been released physical. A lot of that's what's the most annoying thing about this. It's like, why are you going against something? I can kind of understand that maybe you were releasing these games physically, but they're not doing that. So game preservation is very important, and it's kind of annoying. It's very fucking annoying. I'm not gonna say disappointing, because that's so stupid. That's when someone says like, oh, it's disappointing. It's like, what are you trying to convey with that? No, it's fucking annoying and it's stupid. There you go. That they're so adamant on getting rid of these sites.
We're going to talk about why I'm genuinely concerned about the future of video game preservation after a quick word from today's sponsor.
All right.
Today's episode is brought to you by Delete Me. As someone who works in the video game industry and as a known public figure, maintaining my privacy is extremely important. And sometimes I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle. Last year, I got an email from what appeared to be a YouTube representative. Now, being tech savvy, I knew that this was a scam. But what I didn't really understand at the time was how these scammers were able to get my information so easily. Well, it's all thanks to data brokers, and these are large corporations that collect huge amounts of your personal identifiable information and package it all together. And these data brokers will also sell your data to other data brokers, and there are literally hundreds, maybe thousands of these sites on the internet. Now, you have the right to stay private and protect your personal data. And that's where Delete Me comes in. I'm not that surprised. It's an online subscription service that will scrub the internet for you and remove your personal data from hundreds of these data broker websites. Now, I've been using the service for the past few weeks, and so far I'm really happy with the results. Now, once you've signed up for the service, Delete Me experts will find your personal information online and remove it from over 750 data brokers.
Technically, they request you remove it. Usually it's such a long ass process that it can take a while. I think that's kind of like with these little sites, like these Delete Me, Incogni. That's kind of why you pay like yearly fees.
Report you'll receive after 7 days of using the service. And this is mine. Check this out. This isn't altered in any way. These are all the data broker sites that my information was found
in progress.
Now, as you can see going down this list, some of them have removal requests pending, while others have already been removed. And Delete Me doesn't stop there either. They will regularly remove your personal information at a scheduled basis and keep you informed. Not only this, you can also make custom removal requests as well. Now, I'm a Delete Me customer, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to try it out for themselves. There are even family plans available for those who want to protect the privacy of their entire family. So what are you waiting for? Get 20% off Delete Me US customer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/MVG and use promo code MVG at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/MVG, code MVG at checkout. Nintendo has a well-documented stance against emulation and ROMs. In 1999, when Ultra HLE, the first public Nintendo 64 emulator released, they called emulation illegal. But after it was tried in court
Nope.
and emulators were found to actually be legal, Nintendo changed their strategy. If they can't take down the emulators, then why not go after the sites that...
It's amazing people talk shit about Nintendo being awful now, but if you go back to the 90s and 2000s, that's when they were really fucking heels. Like, seriously, go watch the Game Historian's video on the whole video game violence hearings, and you can watch as fucking Nintendo throws Sega under the bus. Such a fucking douchebag thing.
host the ROMs. Now you might be thinking to yourself...
Or even more so with the fucking, what was it? Kind of the little stranglehold on making carts and whatnot, and basically making sure that, I believe they charged more for companies if they made games for their competitors, for Sega preferably. I believe I remember something like that. I gotta look that up, but they've done some shitty things.
MVG.
So when they do stuff like this, I'm like, it's not even that bad. I'm like, eh.
Nintendo just took down Yuzu.
Yep.
That's an emulator. So what are you talking about? Nintendo did shut down Yuzu. However, the
talk about
DMCA
it?
law was never tried in court. Yuzu took an L to keep emulation legal, which I think everyone can agree was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But let's get back.
But a lot of that also on their on the document pretty much said the way they were basically having you install the emulator. I believe basically it showed you how to hack essentially the Switch to get the I forget what it was. I guess what is essentially the game's the system's BIOS to get the game to run, the emulator to run, which is I believe against the I believe was a violation if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'm not I guess in the way they kind of did have a case, to the point where even Yuzu had to pretty much try to get the trial, essentially keep it from going to trial, and that's why this is what happened.
To ROMs, which is the main topic of this
But then again, like what the next day, like 2 days later, there was another emulator announced.
video. I mentioned that Nintendo has every right as the copyright holder to remove what belongs to them.
Yes.
But did you notice that Nintendo is pushing for the removal of the entire sites, threatening the preservation of ROMs that don't even belong to them? But MVG, what about archive.org, I hear you ask?
Oh.
That's never going to go.
I really hate when they start mentioning these sites. Like, stop talking about them, dude.
Let's stop and discuss archive.org for a moment.
Okay.
And while I do agree that with the loss of Love ROMs, Vimslayer, and other sites, as long as archive.org exists, then everything will be fine.
Well,
but it's really not the case. First of all, let's talk about why Nintendo hasn't gone after archive.org in the same way as they have with the other sites. Well, it's because archive.org has a DMCA exemption to help with the archival of vintage software.
Oh,
it's vital
I didn't know
to
that.
make proper archival copies of these artifacts. The problem with this exemption is it's not forever. Every 3 years, the Copyright Office holds a rulemaking proceeding to determine the exemption status. And for example, if 1 year they rule against the DMCA exemption, the site is then exposed to the same takedowns as any other ROM site. It's as simple as that. Nothing lasts forever, except for the ridiculous copyright laws when it comes to video games.
There needs to be a new law that actually helps preserve some of these fucking ROM files, because right now, again, a lot of these companies a lot of these games you just can't get. And, you know, again, some of these, they're not like amazing. They're not like, a lot of these games aren't really super big either. So again, they're extremely expensive. And most likely the companies just don't see any real reason for re-releasing it or even putting it on their fucking, on any sort of online downloadable service. So it's like, that thing is going to be lost forever. I don't, like I said, there has to be a fucking change in the law that says that these sites are perfectly fine for preservation purposes. That I don't know what they could do. I'm not a lawyer, but something has to change.
And if you didn't know, here in the United States, video game copyright lasts for the entire life of the creator, plus an additional 70 years. And Nintendo themselves have been outspoken opposing the DMCA exemption on archive.org.
Oh,
if and when
but
there
still,
is a reversal.
I didn't know the whole, and for the whole copyright holder thing, but like, it's so stupid. Like I've said, it's so fucking dumb that they go after this. This is like the biggest fucking waste of money and time that they could be doing anything else. But they go after these sites that isn't really taking any money from them at all. Again, these games aren't, the vast majority of these games that are getting downloaded are games they don't sell anymore. So it's like, what's the point? It's not even like free advertisement or anything. It's just let it happen. It's like you really can't do anything about it. Because, again, one more time, sorry. I know I keep saying it again. Take a shot every time I say it again. You'll probably be sloshed by now. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. You shut down one site, there's probably going to be another one. It's just going to keep happening. It's that easy. Again, archive.org has all these games. I'm pretty sure you could find like the entire GameCube library, the entire NES library, the entire GBA library very easily. So it's like, what's the point of doing any of this? Just stop bothering. Just let it happen. If it happens, it happens. People who love your product are going to buy them anyways. Don't focus on the people who who are never going to do it to begin with.
DMCA exemption, Nintendo will be the first company to strike. So what can we do about this? ROM sites are illegal, but can we dump our own games? Is it even legal to do that?
I think so.
I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding of dumping is that it's perfectly legal to dump your own games,
there you go,
as long as you're not circumventing any protection measures as stated by the DMCA. In general, what this means is that anything up to around the 6th generation of game consoles would be perfectly legal to make backups of.
Right.
Anything beyond that is a grey area. But for this discussion, let's just assume that all ROMs can be dumped by...
But it's also like, can they, like, I don't think Nintendo or any of these companies are going to go to your fucking house and see if you're doing this. But again, even, like I said, they waste money, but they're not this stupid to waste money.
Individuals who own originals, and it's perfectly legal to do that. So, if it's okay to download and use an emulator and dump your own games, then what's the problem? Preservation lives on. After all, I'm making a legal backup of my games. The problem is, have you ever tried to dump a NES, Super NES, Genesis, or old game cartridge?
I can't imagine.
It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
You need some type of dumping hardware like this thing here. This is the Retro 2. It can dump SNES and Genesis ROMs, and I even have an adapter for N64 and Game Boy. The problem is, these aren't readily available. They're almost never in stock when you need one.
Right. I know some of these are like really expensive too. Yeah, like $99.
And have you tried dumping NES game cartridges? I've tried a few different dumpers, and all of them are terrible. The best option is to use a dumping tool with the analog NT Mini, which isn't made anymore.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what he's talking about. Yeah, analog NT Mini, yeah. It's not, the damn thing was like $600. It was really nice, although I've heard like I think like the putting in the slot is like a little, where you put the card in is like way too shaky, so it can kind of mess things up. And it allows you to dump ROMs onto it. I think you had to hack it first in order to do that. But yeah, it was the thing was like $600, and it only played like NES games. They don't sell it anymore either, which kind of sucks. But yeah.
Back in the old days, way before FPGA-based dumping tools, disc and cartridge copiers were all the rage. Now, I've used disc copiers on the channel before. These devices were also successfully blocked in US courts as illegal. Now, of course, it was still very possible to import them via Hong Kong electronic stores such as Lexang, but you start to see the frustration.
Because they're not gonna fucking check this stuff. It's like, who cares? I wonder if this stuff would actually be thrown out in court unless like Nintendo or one of these companies fucking really wanted to fight it. But it's like, so stupid.
Disc-based games like the Dreamcast, OG Xbox, and GameCube aren't really much better either. You can use either a specific drive with a hacked firmware, or you can use a hacked console.
I didn't know you could do all that. Like, you had to go through this fucking process. Props to the fucking people who burn these out, who take this then.
It shouldn't be this complicated.
Or who burn it. Although, I will say the Xbox emulators really fucking suck. They're not very good. I forgot, was it Zemu? Not Zemu. I forgot. I did have an Xbox emulator here that I had. I used it. It doesn't work as well. There's a lot of games that don't work properly.
Backups of your own games, and yet it is. Why not just leave everything up to Nintendo? After all, they did successfully launch the Virtual Console on the Wii.
Well, they don't put every game.
And recently, the NSO service.
Not to mention, on
the Nintendo Switch. Not only this, they have a very long history of providing backward compatibility options for hardware going as far back as the Game Boy Color.
I'm gonna guess he's gonna say what we're all thinking, but I'll let him cook.
Nintendo can't be trusted.
There you go.
Virtual Console on the Wii was a very good service they provided. When it was all said and done, there was a total of 427 Virtual Console titles available on the service in North America.
Right.
And in 2019, the Wii U online service was shut down.
There you go.
So let's move over to the Wii U. many games had to be ported to the Wii U Virtual Console, and there's a total...
And you can actually, just about, if you're savvy enough, you can actually copy these to, like, say, a hacked Wii or Wii U. Some of them, not N64 is a little trickier, but it is possible to put a lot of these games on there.
Of 318 titles available in North America.
A lot of them are gone now.
It's a pretty significant reduction. And of course, as we know, just recently, the Wii U store was also closed.
Yep.
But of course, now we come to the Nintendo Switch Online service, which is the service-based Netflix-style model Nintendo has always wanted to provide. And the smart money suggests that Nintendo will transfer over the NSO with your Nintendo account to future Nintendo hardware, including the Switch 2.
We can only hope.
This, of course, is a good move. As of the making,
well, we don't know yet. So, but yeah, I would assume they're gonna let it happen. I mean, it would be like, again, it would be even better if, say, the next, like the Switch 2, whatever the fuck they're gonna call it, not only does that, but they also add GameCube, which that would be amazing. It backwards compatibility, and their little NSO service has now GameCube games. Fucking done, boys.
Of this video, there's only a paltry 275 titles available on the NSO service, and we only get a very small drip feed of new games every single month. I remember back in the days of the Wii Virtual Console, we were getting games every single week. The Nintendo Switch has sold over 155 million units, but Nintendo is all but doing the absolute minimum to offer retro games to their customers. The number of old classic games Nintendo is providing on their hardware services is shrinking with every single generation. And you've probably noticed that every single month people are asking for games like Chrono Trigger or Secret of Evermore on the service.
The only thing I can argue with that is that's Square, so I don't know. I'm guessing that's more of a Square issue. I wish they would put, like, Chrono Trigger. I love Chrono Trigger, so, but I think that's something you gotta ask Square Enix about.
How many years will people need to wait before they show up, if ever? There's no guarantee that anything will ever appear on the NSO. As someone who does work on commercial emulation projects, I can tell you categorically that many publishers see value in partnering with companies like Limited Run or Digital Eclipse to help bring back their back catalog. The reality is, Nintendo Switch Online is...
Please don't ever fucking... I was so annoyed when I saw that Alan Wake 2 physical copy, the limited edition, and it's through a limited run. Like, god damn it, pick a different company, please. I am 8-bit if you can. I don't fucking care. Just any fucking company but them.
Just another revenue stream for Nintendo's bottom line. The emulation quality, while decent enough, doesn't hold a candle to community-developed efforts that run on their own hardware. The emulators that the homebrew community built on the Wii, Wii U, 3DS, and the Nintendo Switch are far superior to anything that Nintendo has ever provided. The community who downloads ROMs shouldn't all be labeled as filthy pirates who deserve what's coming to them. It's the resellers who attempt to profit from them that really should be targeted. If Nintendo really cared about ROMs, they'd be taking down every single seller on Amazon who's selling knockoff handhelds with 10,000 games on them. I can literally buy one.
I'd say that's more fucking... It'd be more easy to do that. Because a lot of that shit is most likely from a reseller, or again, like they said, hacked counterfeit ROMs. A lot of that shit, especially with fucking GBA games, because you got to be very careful when you're getting GBA parts from eBay, because it's very easy to counterfeit that shit. And the only way you can really kind of tell is if you go inside the actual cart itself, and it'll usually have like that black goo or whatever the fuck, and you can tell that's fake. I actually tried to get Mega Man Battle Network 1, and I got it from GameStop, and then like it turned out to be counterfeit. I returned it, but it's like I didn't tell him I opened it, but when I did, and when I found it, it was like had that little some type of black little thing, and looking at the actual picture of the cart, it turned out that was not it, or that this was a fake that I had. I was really annoyed. But yeah, they don't go after these people. Or at least you don't hear about them going after fucking resellers like that. Or not even resellers. They're selling fake copies
now and get it delivered tomorrow. And if it wasn't for ROMs, fan translations would not exist. And this is something that people pour their hearts and souls into to provide localization efforts to games that were never released in that particular country.
Mother 3
doesn't even stop there. Things like full color translation.
Mother 3, Sweet Home, games that were not translated.
widescreen mods, ROM
And at the time, Earthbound, the original Earthbound Beginnings, or Mother 1.
hacking built out of completely new
sorry.
games, updating and adding quality of life features, even building demakes of games. Anytime a remaster is announced, people
I thought that was my mouse right there. Sorry.
quality of life features will there be? Well, if ROMs didn't exist, that would be a big fat zero. And I'll fill you in on a secret. Commercial retro game collections I've been involved with, we frequently work with ROM hacking experts in the community. Everyone does who works on retro collections. Experts in reverse engineering, ROM hacking and localization efforts are essential to bringing back old games to modern times.
I think it's already. I think that's out for. I think that was re-released by Limited Run. I don't remember. So you can download this now, but yeah, I'd rather have the actual physical copy.
Just saw the release of the N64 Mr. Core, an incredible piece of work that will surely benefit N64 hardware preservation, but it still requires ROMs to play. It's easy to say that the internet is vast and ROMs will never be eradicated, but the reality is, every high-profile ROM site that's shut down, it's a blow to preservation.
Yeah, it is going to get harder though. Fortunately, Google apparently just kind of puts that shit out there. Google, any search engine will put it out there almost front and center. But again, just when you see it, it also means Nintendo sees it. And that's another big issue. So, guys, back that shit up. keep this stuff there. If you want to do preservation, we gotta start packing it too and keeping it alive, and because they're gonna keep trying. It's never going to truly go away, but they're going to keep trying.
Nintendo or the ESA to be in charge of preservation efforts. They've failed in doing so time and time again. Their motives aren't to preserve, rather to control.
Yeah,
they make it clear
that's always been it.
They will go after any ROM site that gets in their crosshairs. And unfortunately for Vim's Lair, this was because of moronic TikTokers who were playing Pokemon on their iPhones via the Delta emulator, thinking that it was cool.
I have this too. It works. I'm not super into these types of emulators, mostly because I don't like using touchpads. But yeah, I was actually pretty shocked that this actually came out. But then again, it's also just an emulator. It's not the ROMs. You have to go find those yourself. But that's going to be a lot harder as well. I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, this I forgot. Fuck it.
Which clearly got the attention of the ESA. If Nintendo was serious about their history,
download that fucker too, just in case. If you really want to play these on your iPhone. Although they don't seem to be getting rid of those on the Android. So I don't know.
They'd provide their entire library of ROMs on a service. This could be either a rental or a purchase and run on any legal emulator on your PC. I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. If Nintendo set up their own Vim's Lair, which had checks and balances, people would buy those ROMs because they know that it's something that is not illegal.
I wonder if I don't know if they would do that either, because again, a lot of those games aren't theirs. They don't own those games. They don't own Chrono Trigger and stuff like that. So I think that's a lot of money they don't want to burn, which is kind of odd, considering that they're most likely doing that going after these sites. Then again, I don't think they really are either. I don't know, but it's a waste of time to just to go after these sites. But I don't think they're gonna want to go through the process of doing this type of rental service.
Sites like Vim's Lair, modders, fan translations, and ROM hacks should not be punished. These talented people are what the industry needs right now. Many ROM hackers and modders got their start in the industry from their hobbyist work, and it would be a shame to see all that disappear. But these are just one man's thoughts and opinions, and I do know that this topic is polarizing for many of you. So if you did make it to the end of this episode, I do thank you for listening. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I understand that a lot of people don't like emulation and ROMs, and a lot of people obviously do. But I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. But we are going to leave it here for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.
My overall thoughts is, yeah, Nintendo has every right to do this. I, however, think it is a massive waste. I don't see any real gain from doing this. But like he said, it is about control. That's pretty much why they take down all these fucking fan-made games like the Pokemon ones and shit like that. It is control. All they'd really have to do is just say, we don't like that you're doing this. We don't like that you're getting these ROMs, and we really can't do anything about it. Because the people who are going to buy this are going to buy it anyway. I'm pretty sure people who even have ROMs on their phone or whatever for their emulators are going to buy these games anyway. if you put them out there, but they're not going to do that because a lot of these are not games that were massive sellers, and there's probably no real money in that. I can understand that, but you also got to realize that there is a slight demand, and it's kind of silly. And again, to just go after these sites that are just going to keep springing up. Again, it's going to be harder to find these sites, a little bit harder, but there's no incentive, there's no reason to do this. I think Sony doesn't really go after these either. But yeah, I know I rambled completely, but like overall, it's stupid. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time and money. There's no reason for Nintendo to really be doing this ever. They should probably just kind of let it be what it is. And unless there's actually something that's really fucking bad, then they can have a case. Then sure, then maybe they can. There's a reason for them to do it. Right now, no, this is ridiculous, and I guarantee you, many people out there have already found a site to go to. So be careful out there, my mateys, when you're sailing in the open seas, and for the love of God, try not to tell people where you got your stuff, where you got your ROMs.